Hello and welcome to today's video. This past Friday, September 20th, Nintendo released The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening for the Nintendo Switch. Now this is a remake of the Game Boy game, and I've been a fan of the Legend of Zelda series since the very first game when it came out on the NES. And so when this game was coming out, I decided I wanted to do something for my channel. And this is the first Legend of Zelda game that's actually come out since I've had my channel. So I thought it would be fun to make something from the game. Now, I did pre-order the game, and I also pre-ordered this little amiibo. So this cute little Link amiibo definitely has kind of a toy, like almost a claymation-ish type look to him. So I thought it'd be fun to give him a little Octorok to fight, or at least sit on the shelf next to him. So in today's video, I'm going to make an amiibo style Octorok inspired by The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. The first thing I'm going to do is make his base. So I decided to make it out of some gold clay. Now the Link amiibos, the Smash Brother one has black, and you can see this Breath of the Wild one has green. But I knew I wouldn't be able to match the green, and that's what a lot of the Zelda amiibos have. So I thought I would go with gold, and that way it just kind of stood out as my own.
Now it's time to bake our clay. Remember, always bake your clay according to package instructions.
With the base done and baked, I can go ahead and start sculpting the little Octorok that goes on top of it. As you can see here, I have on my phone the reference picture from Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, and then I've got my tools, I've got some foil, and then I've got the colors I need for the Octorok. So I'm going to use some red, yellow, black, and some pearl. So the first thing I do is I want to roll out the yellow for the tentacles. So this is on the underside of the Octorok's tentacles. So I'm just getting those rolled out and kind of placed them on the base to see how they would fit. I didn't want to make them too big or too small in scale with that base. So now I'm going to soften up my red clay and start on the red part of the tentacles. So I'm just rolling these out as how I want the tentacles to look, and then I'll just kind of merge those two together later. So I'm using some foil. I'm going to use that for the main body of the Octorok and cover that with the red clay. At this point, I was having a lot of problems with this block of red clay. It was a lot firmer than normal, and it started crumbling a lot when I was trying to soften it. So I think it's gotten too old. I don't rotate my clay the best sometimes. So I decided I would see if I had another block that was a little bit better, and I'll just save this, make some blobs or something about it, something that won't need to be so precise and I won't have to worry about that crumbling effect. So before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and wash my hands. The red clay pigment is very strong, so you can see here a lot of it transferred to my hands. And even though I'm going to work with more red clay, I wanted to get that off of there just to reduce the chance I would get it on something else. Now this new block of red clay is definitely a lot softer, so it's been a lot more cooperative as I'm sculpting it. So the bottom, or the base of the body, had kind of a ring around it, so I put another piece of clay on that. And I'm going to start making the mouth and the eyes. The mouth of the Octorok is tube-shaped, but I decided to make mine a little more of a cone-shaped so I could stick it in between kind of the lower part of the eyes there, and it would kind of rest underneath. And then for the eyes, I did the sockets first and attached those, and then I started working on the actual eyeball. And so I'm using some Premo Pearl for the eyes, and I just rolled out the balls so they would fit in those sockets, but I didn't want them too big. I didn't want them sticking out too far. It didn't look like his eyes bugged out, but they were kind of rounded, so they did go past the eye socket area. So once I had those done, I could start working on the pupils. And the Octorok's pupils in the game are pretty unique because they're kind of this slanted, not triangle, rectangle. I know my shapes. So I went ahead and rolled out some black clay and then just cut 2 tiny little rectangles with my X-Acto knife, and then I used my needle tool to place them on at a slight angle. And so I just used my fingers, my needle tool, to kind of adjusted those so they, were at the angle I thought they, were closest to the game. So the last thing I need to do on this little guy is attach the yellow and the red together for the tentacles. So I really wasn't for sure how I was going to do this. And I think if I redid this Octorok, I would do the tentacles red and add the yellow with some paint. But I made this work. I basically cut the yellow part of the tentacles in half and then just attached them underneath the red part and kind of smoothed them in with the ball tool. And that ended up, working out fine. It was probably just a little more work than it needed to be. The last issue I had with him is the weight of that body and the angle of it kept wanting him to flip backwards. And so I had a hole in the back of it because he's completely covered over that foil. I always worry about air coming, being trapped in there and expanding. And so I didn't want any air bubbles, so I poked a hole in it, but then I used that air hole to add a wire to give him some support while he baked.
Now it's time to bake our clay. Remember, always bake your clay according to package instructions.
Now that the Octorok is baked and I let him cool down for a while, I can go ahead and glue him onto his base. So on the bottom of his tentacles, there's spots that are really smooth where they met the pan, and that's where I'm going to apply that super glue gel. And then I'm just going to hold it in place for a while, and once it's secure, I can start glossing it. So I'm using some Premo gloss coat. I'm going to mix it up a little bit, and then I just want to give it a nice even coat. You don't want it gooped up too much because you don't want it to be, any uneven spots. So now that the gloss is completely covering the sculpture, I'm going to let it dry overnight. And here is the finished Amiibo-styled Octorok from Link's Awakening. I think these two figures look really well together. I think the gloss coat definitely helped my Octorok fit in with the Link's Awakening Amiibo because he is so shiny. Set this guy down, let you get a better look at the Octorok. So like I said, he is the Link's Awakening style, so he has the 6 tentacles. And I like his little rectangle pupils. Kind of gives it a different look than some other characters. Alright, well I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you do like Legend of Zelda, be sure to check out TrenoNights' video this Thursday. This isn't a collaboration video, but I found out she was doing something from Link's Awakening as well. So I just kind of wanted to mention that, and I'll put a link to her channel down below. Also, ClayClaim, he just released this incredible Link's Awakening kind of like diorama. It's like literally a screenshot from the game turned into clay sculpture. So I'll put a link to his channel as well, and that's already up. But TrenoNights will be up on Thursday, so be sure to subscribe to her channel and ring the notification bell so you get notified when that video's up. Alright, well I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thanks for watching, and remember, never stop creating. Bye!
Amiibo!